I was pretty good at coaching and especially connecting with kids. I knew I could connect, and I'm a good teacher. I mean, I always like what I do, but I could connect, and I always had a very close bond with anybody I coached. And so I was trying to think of how can I mix with what I knew psychology and what I knew of the sports coaching. And it accidentally came up where it was a conversation that had happened with an old coach of my daughter's, a softball coach, who was frustrated, and his mom and his wife was frustrated because their daughter could hit a country mile, but she wasn't hitting, and she wasn't hitting in games. She's hitting in the cage, but she was in games. And I remember seeing her play, and I remember just being by her mom, and I was like, well, I can tell you why she's not going to hit. I could see it in the way she approached the plate and hearing some of the things that she had said. And she's like, could you just talk to her? She doesn't want to hear from us. Of course, who, right? You can't coach your own kid. And I remember saying some stuff to her, and it apparently resonated. I mean, she had to do the work. I mean, there's no magic switch to mindset. And it started to help. So we started to work together, and just like, can I work with her? And so I kind of used that as a test subject, so to speak, trying to find out things that I already knew were deep inside. Where I struggled was the mental part. And I didn't want to go get my degree. So I went out and got some coaching certificates and researched a bunch of that. And then started to work with like couple more people came along my way, put it out on Facebook. I didn't even have a website. Put it out on Facebook with a terrible looking flyer. And within a week's time, I had 10 athletes. It was crazy. It was like this. And I think COVID exacerbated, it didn't make the mental issues in the sports, but it exacerbated when kids were coming back. They weren't sure they were going to come back, or could I make my team, or they've been so isolated, and I think it just exacerbated some of those mental things. And so what parents already saw, what coaches already saw, they just saw more of, and then they didn't know what to do. And so I started working with about it, and I realized quickly, like, ooh, this is probably a lot for one person to handle. And we just started working that way. And then a team came along and said, do you do teams? And I was like, yeah, that's probably a really good idea. You put the message to everybody on the team. Yes, I do. And, was asked to speak to some referees in Alabama who are trying to pass a fitness test. Lo and behold, it's not a fitness problem. It's a mental problem where they're getting to a certain number of laps and they can't finish. And we did a seminar, and again, they have to do the work, but all six of them passed, which apparently had never happened. So I was like, this is really a thing, getting some validation. And it was my thing.